Hello and welcome to the Aussie Mixed and Fixed GT Series live on Apex Racing TV. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick, alongside me is Daniel Lee. Scott Newton operating the cameras tonight, and we're here for the second round of the championship. And Daniel, it is lovely to be back. We broadcasted the past few series of this championship. We're now on to season 14, believe it or not. They really have raced on by, and we're at the home of British Motorsports for our first broadcast of 2021.
Yeah, absolutely. Great to be back, Sam. Thank you for that one. Really looking forward to this. We saw a great race last time out for season one, or round one, effectively at Le Mans, which was a standout circuit to do. We've already had the Christmas Cup over the Christmas period for 3 rounds, which is awesome, and a few of us got a chance to have a run in that. Switching back gears to the remainder of the season now, we're in for a really good show.
Absolutely, it should be absolutely terrific. Ross Rizzo, the winner from the first round of the championship at Le Mans, and of course the defending champion after racking up an immense amount of victories last season. Dare I say 8, I believe he may have accumulated by the end of the championship. It was a remarkable season for Rizzo, who thoroughly deserved to win the title. But of course, a few new challengers and a few returning faces who will be trying to put plenty of pressure on him. We are currently in the practice session. The drivers have already taken part in qualifying. Apologies for the late start. Just a few issues getting the sessions up. You can imagine it's quite a complex server settings that the admins use, because the drivers will do pre-qualifying, and there will be probably 80 odd drivers who do pre-qualifying, and then the top 40 drivers all get into the top split, and then the bottom 40 drivers get into second split. And so it's a little bit of software that needs to occur in order for that to be divided, and there are a couple of issues with that, but the admins have worked through that, and we should have a good grid of drivers for this event coming up. Of course, the last time we visited here, I believe, Daniel, was a couple of seasons ago, and I think it may have been Craig Edwards who was pretty strong on that time that we last visited. But what are kind of the main challenges of this circuit? What will be the things that the drivers will be watching out for?
Yeah, it's a really interesting, challenging circuit. This one, obviously, a lot of high-speed corners that the guys are going to have to negotiate their way through. So the balance in these cars is going to be really key to get through. Spoken with a few guys that are already starting to find a few little hiccups here and there. For instance, the C8 is a little touchy getting up over the curbs too much. But yeah, it is what it is with the fixed setup that we've got here for this championship. All in all, it's about trying to find that rhythm, get into the consistency that you need to, and work their way through. We've got a large volume of different cars up and down throughout the grid that are very good in each little different part of the circuit, and that in itself is going to keep this field relatively compressed tonight.
Yeah, I think so. As we have the grid, and it's Danny Davison on pole position. Nice slap there from Danny. Ross Rizzo lines up in second position. It's Luke Bergens. James Scott, you can see him out there. AOSC two-time defending champion. Then it's Martin Crisp, Will Orton, Breeden Nash, Ross Deal. Could see Wales being represented. Byron Phillips, Steve Jansen lines up in 10th place. Then it's Timothy Theben, Nathan Huppertz, Andrew Dyson, Ben Dowell, Dylan Rudd, Trent Thomas, Dominic Mellett, Scott Zyslowski, Adam Hughes, Matt Lupino, Chris Whitesall, Jesse Butler, Dale Braid, Adrian Vlock in 24th. In 25th is Michael Whiting. Then it's Bobby Yanovich, Ashley Collins, Shane Chancellor, Aaron Specchio, Paul Warwick, Christopher Hughes, Rob Harris, Scott Forsyth, Brooke Daly, Bradley Sanders, Javon Wood, Aaron Cooper, Brooke Creamer, Hayden Smith, Craig Anspach, Lockhart Brownlee, Joshua Burden, Michael Fazzari, and Chris Keeping is the order, as already the drivers are moving away, and so we are going to get the green flag out very soon. It is Danny Davison then, who is on pole position, out qualifying the defending champion. Can he hang on to it? Round 2 of the Aussie Mixed and Fixed GT Series Season 14 is underway, and it's Davison leading away the order. He went very early from the start, and he pulls a little bit of a gap on Ross Rizzo straight away. Good stuff for Will Orton to get past Martin Crisp, who was trying to come back going into Abbey, but that is a change for 5th and 6th positions. But Davison going potentially controversially early, as we got a couple of spinners off in the background. That's Ross Deal, who managed to qualify up in the top 10. However, he's had a disastrous start and has gone off at the first opportunity. A little bit of side by side, a little bit further down, and that's a spin for Crisp, who'd already dropped 1 position, and we got another spinner. It's Dow, who also goes off, and both those drivers seemingly falling victim to the cold tyres and losing the car going onto the Wellington straight.
Yeah, really tricky trying to get the tyre temp into this. From what we've seen over the past few events, they do take a good lap or two to come into their operating range and get the power down. So those guys are going to have a lot of work to do throughout the course of this one. They still do have that 1 pit stop, and if we do see a safety car, it's going to absolutely help and bunch that field back up so they can get underway. But a lot of work left for them to do as everyone starts settling down. Janssen up on screen at the moment. A change car from him to what we've traditionally seen him in the Porsche, switching over to the C8 and continuing on with the great pace that he's shown so far.
Dyson also with a problem going through Lovefields, I believe. So plenty of spins on that first lap, and not a pile-up, fortunately, but plenty of kind of individual mistakes out there on track. Burgess up in 3rd place, ahead of James Scott. It will come to him as the race goes on. Of course, fixed setup for all of these drivers means that pretty much all the cars are very evenly matched. Even between manufacturers, they are very evenly matched out on track. So real good opportunity for absolutely everyone out there to get a good result. But the top 5 drivers absolutely sprinting away with all of the mess behind. Just wonder if there's going to be a change between Huppers and Theben, because these two went for the championship a couple of seasons ago. It was Huppers leading going into the Bel round, unfortunately disconnected due to hardware issues. And it was Theben who stole the championship, and these guys currently battling for 9th and 10th.
Yeah, no, good driving between both those guys. No paint exchange in that little swap there that saw Theben get ahead. So Huppert's now going to have to get the head down, and he's going a little defensive. He's got Dylan Rudd closing in right behind. Not that far behind Trent Thomas, and we might see Dylan just stick the nose in. Actually going to lose the back end of that car going through there, and fortunate not to get collected by anyone else as he straightens up and gets underway.
Yeah, that was lucky there for Rudd, because that could have been a whole lot worse as you called it. But drops out of the top 10. Here comes Mellet in his Ford, trying to get past Collins just ahead, has to back out a bit going through Cops. Easy to pick up a 1x on the outside here. There are some instant limits for these drivers, so they need to be careful of that. And then no way through going into Maggots and Beckett's. But it's all about just lining up a little bit of wake in these cars, so it can be tricky to stay close through Maggots and Beckett's. And then get a good exit and go for a move down the straight. Phillips dropping down the order. Also Nash just dropping behind Janssen. Loads of changes. Scott's now ahead of Burgeons. And those two are still fighting. They've just lost touch of the drivers ahead. But Theben up ahead of, up into 7th place now. And a couple of issues there for one of the drivers, but I think that was just a back marker getting out of the way. Luke Burgeons is off the circuit now. So Burgeons going onto the pit straight, and he's lost it again. And in fact, who else is that? It's Will Orton, who's also spun round. And what has happened to Burgeons? That is a strange place to have a crash.
Yeah, we jump back to the replay here. So I think a little bit of the sausage curb involved as the guys work their way through. James Scott was very close into this battle as well. And a little bit of side-by-side, gets it up on the curb and fires it hard into the wall there. That's going to be a lot of damage on those cars to get back around. So big hit there, and Burgess is going to have to wait for everyone to cycle through and get through. We did also see Nash having a slowdown as well, and not too sure what happened there, but here's the onboard shot as the Will Orton gets through, just clouts that curb and nowhere to go with the car by the side.
then very tricky to rejoin in that situation. Uses a bit more time. Look at the Tarachop Virgin's car as well. That's going to really be affecting him for the rest of this first stint, and then he'll be able to pick up a fast repair at his mandatory pit stop, and things should improve. Apologies if the time screen is slightly wrong, at least it is on my screen brownly at the top of the time screen, but that is not what the actual order is. It is Danny Davison currently at the top of the times, and ahead of Ross Visser so far, holding him back. Saw the gaps that Rizzo managed to win by last time out. It was about 4 seconds, which kind of is quite a large gap. Think of it as MotoGP, where like 4 seconds is a country mile if you win by that margin. But we're kind of seeing the same thing. 6.7 seconds separating first of fourth Fieben into a remarkable 4th position now. After all of that, he must have gained about 6 places in one lap. Also, Huppers up into 2nd, Janssen up into 5th. So loads of problems for those drivers who started in the top 10. Nice battle forming up behind Warwick at the moment. We've fortunately got the class stripes now on screen, so you can see the purple represents the elites, the amber the amateurs, and the red the rookies. And Warwick, a rookie driver, up there in 13th place. But got quite a queue of cars behind him at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. And fortunate for him here, this section of the road, very tricky for these guys to work their way through. So if he's just able to flow the car through, maintain the run that he needs, he should be in pretty good stead to hold that spot down through this short little short shoot down in towards the hairpin there. So not too bad. Everyone's sort of stretching out a little bit, and it's very tricky there for those guys to get the power down in these cars. We know we do have a little bit of traction control just to help out, but still very tricky to sort them out, as we see a couple of battles a little further up. Dale Parid around the outside in the XRC Ferrari. Good to see a Ferrari well up towards the top 10, and he just put a move there on Chris Weitzel in the Pulse Racing Porsche.
Oh, as Jovanovic goes a little bit wide. Face line there is that driver. But remaining in 10th place at the moment. But all going on at the moment with Butler up in 9th place. Deal also with Whiting pretty close behind him at the moment. And of course, after that, issue on the first lap for Ross Steele, the Welsh driver, Joe, who I'm not too familiar with, but did he take part in the Christmas Cup as well?
I don't recall having seen him there. Phoenix Motorsport, relatively new back into this championship again. They've got some good drivers that have come along to help them out with the likes of Nash in there as well. So we know those guys were very quick a couple of seasons ago when we saw Braden Nash running around there. So expect a lot for these guys, but maybe just struggling to find their feet a little bit in this early stage. I've got a few cars in the lane as well with Soslowski and Dylan Rudd coming through for their pit stops early on tonight.
Yeah, an aggressive strategy, pitting early. They need to hope that there isn't a safety car. Would that benefit them if there was a safety car? It'd probably harm them a little bit. But there is Soslowski just coming out of the pits. Qualified quite low down to Soslowski, but also always a better racer than he is qualifier. One of the drivers for Tricky Esports, of course. Still, we've got Fieben in 4th place. Deal, though, with another problem. And he is going down the order. And dare I say, that might be at a similar point to where he had his problems on the first lap. Whiting as well off the track. And he was doing very well, was Whiting. And that is that Sanders as well that they're battling with. So those two coming together, going into Brooklyn, so we've got side by side here. That is a brilliant move from Aaron Specchio, as Melik can't quite hold him back. Nice work there from Specchio. Often we don't see moves at Maggots and Beckett's work, but that one sure did.
Well, no, and especially not in that too wide scenario there. So that was a really good run there. We might see Mallet look for an opportunity to come back down as they finish into the braking zone to hang it straight. Just not quite close enough at this phase, but Definitely going to want to redress that situation as fast as possible. A little bit of a gap for those two to climb their way forward and get up to the back of St. Chancellor or Jovanovic and Ashley Collins just in that little group of three just ahead. But look for Mallet, he's showing the nose down the inside. He's definitely trying to come back through as soon as possible.
Stop and hold for Michael Whiting, which indicates that that incident down at Brooklands was his fault, as Scott Newton doing an awesome job in the broadcaster's room, and he has been able to find this one for us. So there you can see Whiting in the Fishy Motorsports car, the black and the green, and he has just outbroken himself, hasn't he, and takes out a couple of cars. And then there was a further incident, I think, a little bit further back, but this was the onboard for Whiting, and I guess it's tricky because you get a bit of a concertina effect here, and everyone bricks a bit earlier than what you expect. But, well, Whiting was way too late on the bricks there.
Yeah, it almost looked like he just missed the braking markers on the run in and then managed to lock it up, and that's all she wrote in the wall. But looks like also we saw one of the Riot Racing cars involved at the later phase of that incident as well, who has continued on, so not a lot of damage, but not the best for him. And we'll see what comes of that later on. Further back towards the front, though, James Scott coming back at Ross Rizzo now. That gap's really started to shrink. Was out to just over 2 seconds before. It's down to half a second. These guys worked their way through, and the Porsche's looking very, very strong out here tonight.
Yeah, it's not holding back Scott by any means. At least back in December, the Porsche was kind of deemed to be the fastest car, but that could have well changed with various updates, and obviously all fixed setups in this series so the admins can kind of impose their own balance of performance for these cars. But certainly the couple of Porsches up in the top three at the moment. The sun comes out here at Silverstone. Rizzo actually losing the draft now to Davison. I kind of thought he was just playing it tactically earlier on, but he does seem to be struggling to keep up, and he wants to stay in that draft of the race leader in order to be able to fend off any attempts from Scott, who of course has won here at Silverstone a couple of times in the AOSC Super Series. And he's trying to do it again here in the Aussie Mixed and Fixed GT Series. Hopefully you'll see plenty more of him later on in the season, because he is an absolutely terrific driver. But this is starting to turn a little bit into strategy, even at this early point. Thinking about when you make your pit stop, how much fuel you can save in this first stint, maybe get the jump at the pit stops. Beeman coming under pressure from Janssen. That big battle for about 15th place has kind of separated out a little bit now. Janssen ahead of Trent Thomas at the moment. Thomas actually losing a little bit of time on the last few laps, but Janssen really fast. I'd say Steve has been one of the most improved drivers from last season, if I recall correctly. Daniel, it feels like an age ago that we were broadcasting season 13, but Janssen seemed to really be getting some very good results by the end of the championship.
Yeah, definitely. He's real consistent, and I think having made the switch from the Porsche over to the C8 like he's done for this season has definitely helped him. I mean, the Porsche's a very quick car. We're seeing that already in the race tonight, but the big advantage of this C8, it's very consistent on its tyres, and we're starting to see this from Janssen right now. That consistency is key, and he's going to just to keep mounting this pressure all over the back of Tim Phoeben and the Mach 1 Esports car and see what he can do to pressure him into move. But just look how much he's able to close down on that braking zone. You expect a little bit of a concertina effect through there, but the car looking very, very nice at the moment.
Yeah, very experienced driver is Steve. I doubt he's going to make any rash decisions. As he runs a little bit wide. The Abbey, and that's just cost him a bit of time. Interesting to see the Jazz driving in so deep for the first part of Abbey. I thought they would maybe be a bit more conservative and really open up the second parts of it. Really is a corner that you have to treat differently depending on what car you're racing in. Of course, the IR01, for example, easy flats through that corner, even in race trim. Certainly is a very good challenge, though, in these cars to just measure it right. We've got Orton into the pits now, so watch out for Orton. I might keep an eye on his lap times to see if he can maybe undercut some jazz. Currently the top running driver who has come into the pits is Joshua Burton. but I think he started from the pits, so that's not really fair. Scott Sieslowski is the top driver who's made a proper pit stop, and he's running down in 32nd place. I expect most of the drivers to be in about 15 to 20 minutes time. That will be pretty much the maximum the fuel will be able to manage.
Yeah, definitely, and that's kind of the trend we've seen over the past 2 seasons. Is a lot of these guys look around that 20 to 25 minute range, come through and knock these stops out. The guys at the front have extended it a little bit further there, but we'll wait to see how this goes. This battle for the 12th position really starting to heat up at the moment, and actually a little further down. So that's Lockhart Brownlee involved in this one, along with Craig Anspach just ahead of him. So some very quick competitors at this point in time, and Vlock seemingly the cork in the bottle on this one, and a new car for him too this season, switching over from the Ford to the C8 also.
Yeah, and the C8 wasn't particularly loved, I thought, last season. Oh, Scott has got ahead of Rizzo. James Scott is up into 2nd position. There it is. So he's done it. Going into... Oh, I can't remember which one that is. Is it Aintree? Not sure. The one before the loop, basically, and after Abbey. But he's got it done. That's the most important thing. And he was from a while back, but drives it in deep. And then, wow, that is great. Rizzo, very spatial driver, brilliant driver in racecraft. And kind of just had to open up the steering and let Scott go. That was a damn dear move there, Daniel. But it works very well for James Scott. He's up in 2nd.
Absolutely. Now will be a time to see what he's able to do with the little bit of clear air that he's got. How quick is he able to close that gap down to Danny Davison? It's out to 1.3 seconds, so a lot of work for him to do to knock it down, but we've seen already just how quick he is and how strong he is on those moves. So look out for that one. This battle really starting to get a pretty feisty at the moment between Hughes and Phillips down here. A little bit of a wiggle from the Porsche in front. That's got to be a sign of for Phillips there that he's just applying that pressure, and he's going to be looking for an opportunity here down through the Hangar Straight.
I think Phillips may have been ahead of Huppert's earlier on. I'm quite sure. In fact, I got Hughes ahead of Phillips. I'm not quite sure what's going on there. But yeah. So apologies. I'll have to ask you here, Dan. Is that Hughes just ahead of Phillips?
Yes, it is, mate. Yeah, Adam Hughes in the right sim racing car there.
Apologies.
Actually, going for the lane.
Yeah, pretty early on. And yeah, he'll duck on in to the pit. I wonder if Hughes will be able to stay ahead of Sieslowski. It could be quite close. Sieslowski 56.2 on that last lap. Not blistering times for Sieslowski, but I think he was pretty much matching Hughes before that one. Managed to finish high up in the amateur standings the rookie standings last season. Chris Whitesell is up into 11th position. After that, also Chancellor just putting in his personal best after the race, so to Warwick, so plenty of changes. He's going to be coming out of the pits pretty soon, and I think he will stay ahead of Sieslowski and be the lead pit lane driver who's coming to the pits. Yes, Sieslowski a while back, so that is good news there for Christopher Hughes, who was quite far clear in that battle, stationary for 12.5 seconds, a little bit longer than some of his rivals.
Yeah, but that's not too bad. We'll keep an eye on that and see how he unfolds over the remainder of this run. He's got a long way to go to get through on that tank, so potentially just use that little bit up early on, and hopefully he should be good. He's going to have to keep himself honest. He's got Chris Keeping in tow behind him, still on the hot tyres, and yet to come down for his stop. So we'll keep an eye on that one as we see a penalty there for, I think it's Javon Wood, for 6.9. He'll have a drive-through penalty as well.
Apologies, by the way, if I got Christopher and Adam Hughes mixed up, but that was Adam Hughes, but who we were concentrating on. Here was the penalty for Javon Wood. Yeah. Well, it's quite nice for the stewards to have easy decisions rather than on the little one. Apologies, Javon. But a little bit of movement, to be fair, from the Porsche just ahead. But I don't think that was even necessarily a move from Javon there, just outbraking himself and trying to get out of the way. can see he was straight away showing some remorse, so to get back going. But we'll have to serve a drive-through penalty for that one. And obviously, you might be thinking, well, that's not too bad a penalty because, you know, the pit lane, you cut the final section, but the pit lane speed limiter, I believe, is 60 miles an hour, which is slow, really slow. Apologies, not 60 miles an hour, 60 kilometers an hour, which is very slow. Usually, for example, in Formula One, I think in most kind of world motorsports, you've got it at 60 miles an hour, 100 kilometers an hour, but 60 kilometers an hour does make it feel a lot longer down that pit lane, so you do lose quite a bit of time. Shane Chesler up into 13th place, still yet to race another driver who I'm not particularly been familiar with, Daniel. Again, did you race against him in the Christmas series?
To be honest, I didn't pay too much attention to who was around me on the relatives, but looking at the guys coming through, we have seen this team. They kicked off I believe it was last season. We started to see them coming through, and they've definitely shown a lot of improvement at gaining those cars further up. But currently, at the moment, Shane Chancellor top of the Aries Auto Sports cars, and looking quite good in that paint livery as well that he's got. He's got Specchio now right in behind as well, so this could be an opportunity here for Specchio to make another move on his way through, and we've already seen some bold moves from him so far.
Yeah, so it's Specchio catching up, but no move into Stowe as we cut back to the race leader, Danny Davison. Scott is looking very quick, and this is kind of what I expected. I was surprised that Scott didn't take pole position, to be honest, but he is taking chunks, 4 tenths of a second on average, about 2 tenths of a second faster than the race leader. I think it was only on lap 10 that he actually, or maybe lap 9, that he managed to get past Rizzo, so he's really shown his real speed recently. Davison with a slightly slower lap that last time round, but still in the 54s, which really only the top 3 are entering at the moment. So these 3 absolutely dominating 9 seconds gap now. Back to Timothy Phoeben. Rizzo can't stick with these 2, and this is certainly moving towards James Scott, because remember, even if he can't get the move done, if he's half a second behind, you would think he will have to take less fuel at his pit stop, and would therefore be able to be stationing for a short amount of time and get track position by that means. Obviously, he might go for the undercut or the overcut anyway, but I think he's certainly the favourite to win at the moment, and after that move on Rizzo, he's certainly got a lot of confidence on the brakes to maybe make another move.
Absolutely. I mean, I've just been keeping an eye on the lap times the last few laps completed, and it's been purples both times, so he's really cut that gap down from what was 1.3 seconds when he got past Rizzo down to the 2 tenths to absolutely throw a blanket over the 2 of these 2. There's nothing in it now, and for James Scott, it's a big change for him. Obviously, we saw him in the supercars out on track for AOSC on Friday night, getting the win there and going for another one in a different car, which is fantastic to see. I expect a lot of these drivers probably trying to get that last little bit of track time in race conditions. Obviously, we've got Daytona 24 coming up next weekend, so any bit of track time you can get in these cars is certainly going to help them out. But for James Scott here, he has got the eyes forward and shooting for this win.
Yeah, he had a pretty good exit from Aintree, but still just out of passing range, and Davison, every lap he can keep behind Scott will give him some more confidence. Here comes Whitesall down the inside. Nice move from Chris Whitesall. That is the moves that we like to see down at the loop. A lot of drivers don't like that section of circuit, but it is very wide there, and that is the type of overtake that you can pull off, and then of course get the cutback and have a good run into Brooklyn. Whitesall a bit cautious on the brakes there. Butler trying to go all the way around the outside. He's still got part of his car along, so we see so many problems in touring cars there, where drivers think that they have the inside, but the driver on the outside closes the line. But those 2 gave each other a reasonable amount of space, and it's Whitesall up ahead of Butler. For ninth place, obviously that could well change later on when we have pit stops, because there's the likes of Hughes and Kozlowski who have already come into the pits. By the way, so Adam Hughes is the leader of the drivers who have come to the pits. Then it's Dale Braid, Joshua Burden, and Luke Burgess. Remember, Burgess, who started up in third position on the grid, but had an issue on the third lap of the race, I believe it was, maybe second lap of the race, and has kind of been playing catch up ever since. We're about 5 to 10 minutes away from the pit stop range when everyone will be coming into the pits. What's happening behind Burgess, actually? That seems like quite a good battle, because you can see the top 20, it's relatively white at the moment. You can check out the live timing webpage as well by clicking on the link in the description provided by SDK Gaming. And you can click on that and you can compare everyone's lap times. You can see the gaps between each of the drivers. It's really useful, but you can also see it on the time tower on the left. And you can see there's a lot of white out there, which indicates that the gap is more than 1 second. But behind Kozlowski, there's a couple of close cars, albeit I think Kozlowski is actually pulling away from Chancellor. Alton trying to make up that gap. He was the other driver who was involved in that Burgess incident earlier on.
Yeah, he's doing a good recovery drive to try and work his way back through. Still a long way down from where he started, and he's got some stiff competition, but this pass might be a little bit easier for him with the lock up there from Chancellor. He's going to go the long way around, and hopefully the momentum that he's got there will allow him through, but definitely pushing hard to get that recovery. And this has been besides that little incident that we saw, I think it was lap 2, where we saw those cars off in the weeds through that section. Really good opportunity to come back through, and he dives it down the inside, exactly the same as what we saw from James Scott on Ross Rizzo a handful of laps earlier, and gets the move done quite nicely there.
Yeah, it's very stylish, isn't it, when you go all out on the brakes. Me and Peter Mackay were here a few days back and comparing to kind of Mark Marquez or Casey Stoner. Kind of getting it stopped on the brakes down the inside, and they were similar there, and using all the space in order to pull off that overtake. Burden under pressure from Burgess. Burden, who started in 41st position. Burgess, who started in 3rd position. And here they are occupying the same bit of circuit. Burden, however, they according to my screen, we've got side by side here. That would be brilliant. We did see that move being pulled off earlier on, but not on this occasion. Burden did come into the pits apparently on lap 0, so I assume he started from the pit. So I believe Burden's still got to make another pit stop. Not 100% sure on that one, as actually we've got Butler, Spettier, and Warwick all coming into the pits, who could be coming out of the pits kind of in this region, I imagine. So we've got quite a lot of blinking at the moment for Burgess, who does eventually get past Burden, but I imagine Burden will be a bit annoyed as he does come into the pits. So Burden did start from the pits, and he has had to make his first proper pit stop there. Meanwhile, Butler and Spettier coming out of the pits, but the big question is, where are they going to come out in relation to Warwick and Kay?
Yeah, it looks like some pretty good pit stops for those guys. They've got back underway. Not that far behind, actually. Butler came out in a pretty good spot there. He's got a little bit of a gap over Kozlowski, and should be able to hold that off quite comfortably. Burgess at the moment still sitting pretty good. He's got a fairly hefty gap. Admittedly, with that blinking, that's going to be definitely putting a few guys off there. 2.5 seconds to close up if he wants to get up on the back of Dale Briggs. So keep an eye on that. But Butler here now doing a very nice job following that pit stop, and should be able to hold it off as our 2 race leaders are in the lane for their stops.
Yeah, massive points of the race here. You got to expect that Scott will be stationary in the pits for 2, maybe even 3 seconds shorter than Davison, because he's been in the draft for this entire race, because in the recent laps he's probably been able to lift and coast. And look at that, he's racing on every bit of tarmac. It's not even tarmac, it's concrete, down the pit straight, or down the pit lane, as he comes to a stop. And also Davison comes to a stop as well. Remember, the Porsche safety car that's not there. They can merge through that. Dare I say they will be trying to cut that exit as soon as possible. Scott, though, gets ahead, and that is kind of what we expected from that one, because he was he's been saving fuel, and he was stationary in the pit lane for 1.5 seconds shorter, and is James Scott up into the lead then at Silverstone. Davison keeps second place. Rizzo wasn't able to close the gap significantly. So great work there from Scott, and that was just a very good tactical drive.
Absolutely, and for Rizzo, that actually worked out relatively well for him. He was able to close the gap down just a little bit more to those guys, a second quicker than James Scott on the fuel. So he was already saving some in fuel conservation mode from lap 1, and that's put him in good position there to really now let the leads go on that car and see what he can push through for it. Nathan Huppert's up on screen, closes up on the back of Steve Jansen. These guys having a very good scrap, up 5 and 6 spots respectively from where they both started, and both the top 2 C8s out there in the field tonight.
Yeah, certainly testament to the organiser for making these cars so evenly matched. Yeah, and I see they see it, which I still can't get over it. They look really cool. I really like the look of the Lambo as well. The style on those 2 cars, which have been added to iRacing recently, do look very cool. So yeah, it's nice to see a few of them up in the top places. Bobby Janovic catching up to Butler currently. Apologies, catching up to Collins. I don't know what's going on with my time screen. But yeah, he's almost onto the back of Collins at the moment. Although actually he was 4/10 of a second slower than Collins on that last lap, so maybe it's Collins pulling away from him rather than the other way. It's battle for 13th position at the moment. They've got Soslavsky and Orton very close behind. Of course, Soslavsky and Orton, very quick drivers. I think they'll be looking to make their way past pretty soon, as Butler kind of having to pull some shapes, having to defend the inside line here. And this train could grow very quickly, as we've almost got an outside move. They're very slow through Vale and Club, and yeah, losing each other probably about a second just through that one exchange.
Yeah, that was a really awkward position there for Janovic, trying to get that move done. And you see the issue there. If you don't, or if you're not able to pull that move off successfully, it does really compromise you as they're moving the back of shot there. Is that Orton trying to come through there on Soslavsky? Not quite able to do it, but he switches again behind. And those two potentially looking at a little bit of a touch and run as they work their way through. And Orton now has managed to get ahead of Soslavsky, so he'll set sail after Jovanovic. And we'll see how these guys go. Soslavsky right in behind. Specchio is up into that fight as well. So those 3 very, very close together as we see another change of position just at the back of that frame.
It's all going on, isn't it? I love the switchback. Really love the switchback from Orton. He was, yeah, changing direction like anything. Here is Specchio, good in view of this one. To pick up the right side. Oh, he couldn't quite get tight enough, otherwise I think he would have been past Soslavsky instead. Soslavsky will probably be able to hold on to this one. Oh, really? Yeah, he does. Just slightly shorter route. But Orton getting ahead of Soslavsky and makes up another place. This would be a good result for Orton, considering what happened near the start of the race. Started up in 6th place. But if he could get up into the top 10, I think that would be a solid result for him. Specchio in 17th place now, having to look behind at Chancellor. If anything, Brendan Nash, could see him out there. He's done 12 places actually as Nash. He may have had a spin on the first lap through Aintree, and has failed to really recover too much since then, albeit he's got a few cars ahead of him. There's Ellet, Rudd, Crisp and Deal. All drivers who also had issues in the early stages, and they're all on their comeback. So this could be very close amongst these kind of 8 or 9 drivers by the end of this 45-minute race.
Absolutely, and you know, it's only 13 minutes left on the clock for them, so still plenty of time to cut and shuffle the way through the deck and see what they can do here. But wait and see. Nash getting very, very racy now up on the back of Shane Chancellor, and if he's able to get this move done, he's going to have a very quick car to start attacking the back of Aaron Specchio with. Look for the move down the inside here, because Chancellor not going defensive under brakes, and this should be shuts the door on Nash there as he works his way through. So these two really starting to scrap it out.
Nash with a good draft through Woodker, also Mellet and Rudd alongside. Sure, he'll be the driver on the inside here. He has the advantage, although if you're willing to track extend, you could maybe make this one work. To be fair to Rudd, desperately tried to keep it within track limits, and well, he's done that one very nicely. Nice space being left by both of them. I like the livery as well on Mellet's car. I'm a fan of that one. That looks a bit of a retro livery right there, at least the one that I've got loaded up. He is, but it hasn't helped him too much there. Also, Chancellor with a slowdown. Oh, that's a shame for Chancellor. He was on the tail of Specchio battling with Nash, but that slowdown, which is easy to pick up through Beckett, has cost him quite poorly, and Rudd up into 19th place now. Janssen versus Huppers. I think we can go a little bit further up the order. They got Thomas as well, right with them. Janssen and Thomas have been close to one another all race long. Huppets with a good comeback, and actually they're not far behind Theben either, who I thought had been able to sprint away from these drivers, but Theben, I think, just losing a little bit of time in recent laps. They all kind of matched each other on that last tour, but this is 4th down to 7th, currently separated by about 3 seconds.
Yeah, it's a bit of a stalemate starting to form here. We saw obviously Theben very, very quick in that car in that opening exchange, and was able to make quite a handful of moves up to climb to where he is. But everything kind of settled down, which is a little bit unexpected probably at this late phase of the race. I mean, looking at where the stops came through, Janssen, Huppets, Trent Thomas, all came in on lap 15, Theben that lap after. So I'm surprised that it hasn't worked out too well for those guys trying to go the undercut and see whether they could have pulled themselves forward. But they are marginally gaining just a fraction here on the back of Theben in these closing stages.
Theben trying to sprint away. Theben with a bit of a record for the last couple of seasons for being dreadful at the start of the championship. I say dreadful, I didn't mean that to be so harsh, but bad luck, say, in the opening rounds of the season. The last couple of championships, he's really come on strong. A couple of seasons ago, I think he won 3 races in a row, or maybe 2 races in a row and a second place. In the middle part of the championship, by which time, you know, he was saying like 10th place in the championship, and it was way too late for him to stage a comeback. But so 4th place for him would be a good result, a kind of best of the rest as well. Huppert's looking really quick. He did get past Thomas, but he's kind of falling back into the clutches now of the tricky Esports driver. Trent, who of course won at Mosports last season, and a long overdue win that as well. So came very close to winning at Barcelona, I think, a couple of seasons ago. Cuts Aintree a little bit. Will that be a slowdown? Yes, it will be. It did look a bit suspect from the moment that we saw it. And he will kind of lose that momentum he had. Here comes Collins. He's surely going to be pushed off the circuit there. But it's Orton moving his way past. So Orton up into 13th place now. And Collins drops down to 14th. Also, is that Janovic trying to get past as well? Yes, it is. And Janovic up into 14th place now himself. Collins drops to 15th, and he's still got Sislowski and Specchio on his tail.
Yeah, it was a nice move from both of those guys there. Janovic going a little bit wide. That might compromise him through the next high-speed section here, as you see the C8 of Ashley trying to stick the nose down the inside. I think he's going to nearly get that move pulled off. Does take a lot of curve, a fraction of dirt. That's actually now going to hurt him against Sislowski, who is going to line up for the 2x2 through this section of the circuit before they get down through the hangar straight. And Sislowski's already pulled that move off, and yeah, he's going to fly ahead.
Seems some great action through that section of corners so far to take us that the drivers aren't holding back too much, willing to risk it out on circuit. as Crisp, who I can't remember what happened to. Oh yeah, Crisp lost it by himself, I think, through entry on the first lap. Hence why he's down in down the order at the moment. He is in 22nd position. But trying to catch up to Dominic Mellet at the moment, just ahead. By the way, gap between the two leaders, 1.5 seconds. Scott looking to race away with this one. Davison with some terrific pace, and I really hope that Davison can keep this up, because we don't expect Scott to be around for the whole season, but if Davison can put up a challenge against Rizzo for the rest of the season, that would be terrific, because to beat Rizzo in the way that he has done so far today, Davison is very admirable. Scott just that little bit too fast, and that's just because it's James Scott. So hopefully Davison can keep up this good run of form and maybe make himself a championship contender this season. But it seems like Scott was just one step too far for him today.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been really interested to see, just with the way the Porsches have got around here tonight. I didn't expect there to be as much of an advantage to the Porsches as there has been tonight. Obviously, we saw, or we didn't see that from race one at the start of the season proper at Le Mans. The Ford was very, very quick out through there, and this being seems to be a really strong Porsche circuit. That being said, Rizzo not giving up. I mean, he's thereabouts, about 4/10 slower at this point in time, or last lap anyway, and just hasn't quite worked out for him in the way that we probably would have expected for him there. So hopefully going to the next circuit should be very handy for these guys, and we'll see Rizzo still continuing on to fight for that top spot honour as well. As we go back to his teammate, Scott Zaslowski, all over the back of Bobby Ivanovic. See where there's a move down into the chicane here. We've already seen quite a few drivers having some issues. This is a lock-up for Ivanovic, and that's going to allow a very easy move there for Zaslowski to come through on him.
Here comes Specchio as well. Apologies, Nash on Jovanovic. Here he goes down the inside. Ooh, not quite. And that's just compromises by ever so slightly through Abbey as well. Not close enough to go for the move into the heavens. Another slight lock-up for Janovic. Been a brilliant battle between these guys because we had so many problems for drivers earlier on in the race that we kind of knew that we would have this situation with guys who spun on the first lap coming back up through the order, and Janovic trying to hold on to as many places as he can at the moment. But here comes Nash back down the inside into left fields, Rogers into Brooklands, had a big slide there and did well to keep hold of the kite. Still got opportunities, but this battling very much inviting. Specchio and Collins. Rudd won't quite catch up to these drivers, even though he has been lapping slightly faster than them. He's a bit too far back. Janovic will work very hard to try to get this 15th place. Almost too deep on the bricks there for Nash, and he's so close around this part of the circuit, but you can't really do anything with it. It's all about picking your turning points, picking up the throttle at the right chance here to nail Maggots and Beckett and Apple, and then perhaps get the run going onto the hangar straight. This one looking strong though for Nash, 1/10 of a second behind. Janovic has got to get to the inside, but he's left it open, maybe realising that he was going to be overtaken whatever he did. And Nash with the inside, he's up into 15th place, and that was a well-earned overtake. As Specchio only 3/10 of a second behind now as well, so Janovic once again all eyes on the mirrors.
Yeah, Ivanovic there just picks up a little bit of curb for his trouble there trying to get through, and that might allow the move there to complete through. As we see Dylan Rudd fires off into the lane, that'll be his second pit stop for the night. Going to get that out of way. A bit further down the field, Micah Ferrazza having a nice solid run. He's got Brock Creamer just ahead and Chris Hughes in behind. The XRC Motorsports, and you've also got Aaron Cooper getting involved in this one as well. So it's a pretty tight little tight scrap there for the minor places, a little further down probably than where all these guys would have liked to have ultimately been, but very, very good fighting for it nonetheless.
yeah, certainly Christopher Hughes a bit further down than where we'd expect. He was getting a few top 10s at the back end of last season. I believe he won the Rookie Championship last season, did Hughes. So very accomplished driver. So yeah, we'll be disappointed with that 20th place. And that is Christopher Hughes, not Adam Hughes. Adam Hughes doing brilliantly. Adam Hughes up in 9th place. Oh, driver, it has been from Adam Hughes. There he is. Doing very well. As we are about to start the final lap of the race. Hubbard and Thomas, I think we just got a glance of it previously, but they are very close to one another. Hubbard's, yeah, I think Hubbard's got past Thomas earlier on in the race, but since then, Thomas has been able to come back, and Hubbard's not quite keeping the pressure on Janssen. We've also just had Christopher Hughes getting past Vasari for 19th place. And actually, Vasari just dropping another place, so he's down into 30th place now, behind Aaron Cooper. Hubbard's just putting a bit of a gap there on Thomas, so up to half a second. That one looks pretty sorted. Gap out in the lead though, 1.1 seconds. James Scott once again adapting very well to these GT cars. He has occasionally tried these. I think he did Le Mans a couple of seasons ago, and I think he may have won on that occasion as well. And it looks like he's going to get another race victory under his belt. It's been a very good drive. We didn't see the move for the leads, Daniel, but he got it done in the pit stop, and just, you know, smart driving from James Scott. He always seems to be, everything seems to always be going in slow motion for him. It just seems to be a very sensible drive from him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he doesn't put a foot wrong. We saw, obviously, that fantastic move down the inside of Ross Rizzo to jump up into second, and then with the strategy play the way it did through the pit stops, able to gain a very comfortable lead, and driven the wheels off the Porsche here tonight, and well-deserved victory. So no doubt we're looking forward to having a chat with him to find out how that all unfolded, and maybe get a bit of a sneak into whether we're likely to see him back for future rounds.
Well, I'm sure the other drivers will be hoping that he's not around for future rounds, because he has been able to take the win from 4th position on the grid. James Scott approaches the line, and he wins at Silverstone in this season 14 of the Aussie Mixed and Fixed GT Championship. Davison with a brilliant 2nd place, one of his best AMF drives, and Rizzo rounds out the podium in 3rd. Good for his championship. Behind them, Thomas isn't going to get Huppert's. He tried hard. Nice battle between these guys. Huppert's in 6th place, he'll be pleased with that, and Trent Thomas good for the team's championship for Trick Esports to round out the top 7. Further back, Butler and Weitzel battling with one another. It'll be Butler to round out the top 10, Weitzel in 11th. We've also got Shane Chancellor, Ross Steele and Martin Crisp battling with one another. Here comes Crisp down the inside, bit too far back, and he will have to remain in that 21st position. It's Chancellor. He finishes in 19th. I feel bad for Chancellor because, well, no, he got that slowdown, didn't he, Chancellor? Maybe if it weren't for that, maybe he could have been a bit higher. But no, it was a good drive for Chancellor to be fair, to finish in the top 20. Adrian Vlock will finish in 25th. Luke Burgeons, who had lots of issues out there, had to come into the pits twice. He will finish in 21st after lining up in 3rd on the grid. So big shame for him. The final few drivers just about to approach the line, but a word on Danny Davison, because, you know, if he had a drive of the day, dare I say, I would give it to Danny Davison. Daniel, do you think he's a genuine championship challenger? Do you think after this performance, perhaps he's the man most likely to challenge Ross Rizzo for this season title?
Look, definitely one of a handful of drivers that could absolutely take it to Ross Rizzo over the course of the season. I mean, Davison hasn't run here for a couple of championship seasons now. Previous to that, when he did in the BMW, now over in the Porsche, and it seems to be working very well for his driving style. So definitely look for him to go exceptionally well there. I still think you cannot discount the likes of Tim Phoeben, Nathan Huppert's, Steve Janssen, even throw that name into the hat as well. I mean, he had a fantastic drive for tonight, and you know, to back that up from what we saw from him last season as well. So quite a few guys here definitely in with a fighting chance to take it to Ross, and I think that's what we need going in for the remainder of this season, the guys to lift and find that little bit of performance that they can.
Yeah, they are going to have to elevate their game to challenge for the championship. But it's a long old championship. Is this one? So still plenty of chances for a comeback. I think we can go to your final race order. For today's event, and is James Scott. He wins out Logitech G Altus Esports ahead of Danny Davison. Third place was Ross Rizzo. Then was Timothy Theben, Steve Jansen, Nathan Huppertz, Trent Thomas, Byron Phillips, Adam Hughes, Jesse Butler, and out the top 10 there was Chris Whitesell, Dale Braid, Will Orton. Good comeback there from Orton. Scott Zyslowski, Braden Nash, Bobby Yanovich, and then it was Aaron Specchier, Ashley Collins, Shane Chancellor, Ross Deal, Martin Crisp, Scott Forsyth, Paul Roig, Rob Harris, and Adrian Block in 25th. Brock Kramer, Christopher Hughes, Aaron Cooper, Luke Burgeons, and Michael Fazari rounded out the top 30. Behind that, it was Dylan Rudd, Dominic Mellett, Hayden Smith, Chris Keeping, Bradley Sanders, Joshua Burden, Brock Kelly, Yarvin Wood, Lockhart Brownlee, Ben Dow, Matt Lapine, Craig Anspach, Michael Whiting, and Andrew Dyson. Also, Adam Gardner didn't take the start. Not sure what that was about. But there he is in 47. In the end, beaten by the organisers. So congratulations to the organisers. By the way, just a quick shout out to all the drivers who have made this broadcast possible. In the end, had to in the end, a few drivers had to kind of pluck together to get this broadcast happening. We're very grateful on Apex Racing TV to once again give us the opportunity to broadcast this brilliant series. So a big shout out to Adrian Vlog, Dale Braid, Ashley Collins, Martin Crisp, Neil Yates, Justin Quinn, Tom Huggan, Chris Whitesell, Byron Phillips, and Michael Schroeder for all of their assistance to get this stream up and running. We really do appreciate it, and yeah, hopefully we can give you the coverage that the series deserves over the next few weeks. We're now going to have a chat with some of our drivers, or the podium sitters, in fact, we can have a chat with. So first up, and I laugh because he thought that he'd escaped my questions when I left AOSC, but no, I'm back and asking James Scott some questions. Well done, James, out there. It's another race win, back where you belong.
Yeah, that was a fun race. I've only ever done one of these series races before at Le Mans, I think it was. But yeah, as I was saying to the guys before, I just was thinking about what I could do tonight at lunchtime, and I realised AMF is a really fun series, so I decided I'll give it a shot.
Were you still getting up to speed in qualifying? Because you seemed to qualify in fourth. Yeah, you qualified in fourth, but then in the race you seemed to be the fastest driver out there. Were you just still getting up to speed in that session?
Yeah, I just think I just didn't have enough laps under my belt to be able to do the ultimate fast lap time. But I think in the race, I was a little bit rusty at the start, almost looped it. But yeah, I was able to sort of get into a bit of a rhythm, and it really did help.
Talk us through the move on Ross, because it really came out of nowhere. Was that quite a desperate move to you because maybe you saw the race leader pulling away slightly? Was that kind of all or nothing for the race win, or was that quite a calculated move that you thought about for the previous few laps?
I wouldn't say it was anything rash or anything like that. I know Ross is a really good driver and a clean racer, so I try and keep it the same. But I was behind him for a few laps there, and really needed to get a move done. As I could see Danny slowly pulling away at the front. And I was really surprised at the pace that I could have on Ross through sort of the 1 and 2 section and be able to get a run into turn 3. But yeah, it paid off, and it really set up my race in the end.
Can we expect to see you back for any more races this season?
Yeah, as long as it doesn't have any clashes with other commitments, like real life stuff, I would definitely try and do a few more races. Usually I've got sort of things on, but whenever I'm free, I'll definitely be trying to have a race.
Awesome. That's great to hear. James, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, obviously, all the guys at Altus Esports. Obviously, they had a race last night where I could learn some data off to get up to speed a little bit quicker. So that really helped. And obviously, all our great sponsors: Logitech G, SDK Gaming, Cube Controls, Own 3D, Racetech Seats, and obviously all you guys for the broadcast and the series admin.
Awesome. Thank you very much, James. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you back very soon on Apex Racing TV.
No worries, guys. Thanks for that.
James Scott there for Logitech G Altus Esports, your race winner tonight. Next up, we got our second place man. It's Danny Davison, and he is standing by with Daniel.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Danny, congratulations, mate. Fantastic drive tonight for yourself and the team at EXG. Great to see you back in the championship first off. And talk us through qualifying for yourself. Put the car up on pole. Different car to what we're traditionally used to seeing you in the form of the Porsche tonight, coming from what we've seen you run previously in this championship in the BMW. How was it out there?
Yeah, I mean, the car handled great in qualifying and had great pace. I was sort of hoping for pole, and I was happy when I achieved it, and I was looking pretty positive for the race. But yeah, the Porsche is the best handling car for me this season. Sort of has a nice turn in, so I'm quite happy I was able to perform in qualifying.
Absolutely. And talk us through the race. Obviously, we saw a very good start for the top four getting away. Not too much issues there, and you're able to build yourself a nice, comfortable little lead over those guys. Were you fighting much with the car, or just sort of just getting into a rhythm, trying to be consistent, save a little bit of fuel where possible up until you had to come in for that pit stop?
I was pretty comfortable at the front. The car was handling fine. I was just trying to build a lead, but wasn't really able to do it. I was a bit surprised, actually. I thought I'd have some more pace in the race, and then James was able to slowly catch me near the pit stops, and he was able to pass me in the pit stop. So, I mean, I was driving as fast as I could, but at the end of the day, he was slightly faster, and that's what counted.
Yeah, definitely. And we're off to Daytona next week. We know a lot of guys putting in a huge amount of effort behind the scenes for the 24. First off, are you guys having a run in the 24? And if not, are we likely to see you back for the next round?
I'm not going to do the 24, but yeah, I'll be back next round. Even though I hate that track, never really raced there, but I'm going to try to put in the effort to be competitive and try to string together a good season this season. See what I can do. Hopefully.
Fair. Absolutely, mate. Well, look, it's a great start to the season proper for yourself out there tonight, and a fantastic drive to come home for second tonight. Before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Just my team, EXG Motorsports. Also, actually, like to give a shout out to Adrian Vlock and everybody else who contributed to getting you guys back on board. So that's pretty awesome. So yeah.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, no, the guys behind the scenes and the community for AMF doing a fantastic job to all come together and continue putting forward what has been an absolutely fantastic championship.
Yeah, we all appreciate it. Cheers. See you guys next race.
So Danny Davison there for EXG Motorsports, finishing in second place. And we are going to get an interview now with our third player. Ross, third position tonight, not always where you finish. It's almost a bit unusual to not see you on the top step of the podium after last season, but still a solid result. Just didn't quite seem to have that ultimate pace tonight.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I'm absolutely ecstatic with that result, actually, because I'm more likely to lose a lap to James Scott than lose a position. So I'm absolutely thrilled to be, I think it was 6 seconds behind him, so I have absolutely no shame in that. And Danny evolved into some kind of animal in that second stint. I was optimistic that after the first couple of laps I might be able to keep him more honest, but then they just drove away. So comfy P3 for me. I can't complain with that.
Your stationary pit stop time was really quick. I think it was 10.6 seconds, which was shorter than James's pit stop time, which I was surprised about because I thought James had saved a bit of fuel behind you and then saved a bit of fuel behind Danny. Were you really marginal on the fuel, or is that like a driving style thing? Like, can you explain like how you put so little fuel in?
Yeah, it's definitely a driving style thing. I haven't been able to put my finger on what I do differently, but it's definitely one of my definitely my strength, that I can passively fuel save and not have to do a huge amount of lift and coast and still have relatively short pit stops.
Next up, we've got Daytona. We visit there most seasons. I think last time it was Craig who got the race win. There was that virtual safety car, I think, which kind of got him the race win. But is that one that you're looking for? So have you done much prep for the 24 yet?
We have done a bit, but in GT3, and that car feels so different to what I recall. And so the whole Daytona thing, it's such a different style track that we visit. So yeah, the cards are going to be thrown into the air again, and we'll see where they all land. But hopefully it'll go nicely. It's a strategist circuit, so hopefully I can just stay with the lead pack and try and get a result that way.
I certainly wish you the best of luck for that one. Ross, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
So quick congratulations to James and Altus on the victory, and also to Danny and SDK Gaming on a fantastic race. To the AMF community and spurred by Adrian Vlock to get this broadcast underway to even make this happen. I mean, it's a great community story. So thank you so much, guys, for being able to put that on. And to the guys at AMF for making the series possible. And last but not least, the boys at Trick Esports and Trick Custom Fabrications and Pro Studio.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having a chat with us, Ross, and best of luck for next week.
Right, thanks very much, guys.
Ross Vizzo for Trick Esports there, finishing in 3rd position. Final word then, Daniel, on Daytona. Proper slipstream circuit is probably the most unpredictable round that we have this season, just because you can be half a second, even a second a lap slower, and still stay in the draft of the driver ahead and stay in play. Going to be an opportunity for some of the drivers a little bit further down the order to challenge for a race win or a podium next time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how next week unfolds, obviously, with the 24 being on and the fact that it is an open setup. For those guys that have put hours of time into to get their heads around making a car optimal for their driving style and their team style to get around there, to then switch back and run a fix setup series at the same circuit. Yes, it's the same circuit, but 2 different styles to get your head around with that car style. So be interested to see how that go. Hopefully we're not going to see too big a swing with the participation side of it. Obviously, a lot of guys are going to want to focus on getting through to both events, but the racing itself is going to be absolutely phenomenal nonetheless. I think we've seen so many good finishes there in the past, and as you say, Seb, it's a huge drafting circuit. There's a lot of... It looks plain and simple on paper, but there's a lot of technical challenges to get it through. Anyone can just putter around there, but try and find that last little tenth that you need to get through the bus stop to set yourself up for a good run towards the start-finish line and dive down in through towards the pit lane. There is, it's a trick into itself, and I think we're going to see another fantastic show out from all the guys for that one.
Yeah, hopefully we do. I think it's potentially going to be an awesome round. Hopefully we don't see the draft broken within the first lap. Hopefully we see some good pack racing and some fuel saving as well. It could be an absolute stellar race next time out. Once again, big thanks to everyone who's contributed to getting this broadcast up and running. We're really pleased to be broadcasting it on Apex Racing TV, so big thanks to all of them. Thanks to SDK Gaming for providing us this overlay. Check out sdkgaming.com if you are looking to get an overlay like this for any broadcasting or any streaming or a heads-up display as well. SDK Gaming is the place to go because you can do loads of customization on it, so do check out that one. Thanks for tuning in for this second round of the championship. Of course, we'll be broadcasting the rest of the season over the next couple of months. So make sure to like this video and subscribe to Apex Racing TV to catch all of our future broadcasts. But for now, from myself, Sam Fitzpatrick, from Daniel Leet, and from Scott Newton, we are going to say goodbye, and we'll see you next time out at Daytona. See you then.